With so many Coloradans ordered to stay home this spring, there were some benefits.
As you might expect, we saw a reduction in many types of crime, but there was one category of emergency call that plummeted during the early days of the pandemic. Good evening, I'm Bart Edsel.
And I'm Heather Skold. Thanks for making us your choice for your news at 10 o'clock. If you thought you heard a lot fewer police sirens this past spring, you weren't alone. The
scanners in our newsroom are pretty quiet as well, prompting us to investigate how calls for emergency services have changed over the course of the pandemic. KRDO News Channel 13's Lauren Bartis is live at the Police Operations Center tonight, taking a closer look at the period between January and now. Lauren, what'd you find out?
When it comes to certain crimes and their fluctuations, the Colorado Springs Police Department tells me it's hard to know exactly what role COVID-19 played in changing those numbers, like property theft, for instance, which can also be influenced by a change of the seasons or population growth. However, CSPD says what we're seeing on the roads is directly linked to the virus.
So a change that we really saw when the COVID pandemic hit was a change in traffic crashes.
In January, Colorado Springs police report 827 traffic crashes, nearly the same in February, 824 traffic crash calls into CSPD. But beginning in March, a dramatic drop in the amount of drivers on the road is reflected in CSPD data.
And then March hit, and that's when COVID first kind of started to come around. So we had 571 crashes.
About 1/3 fewer crashes were reported in March compared to the first 2 months of 2020.
But then we get into April when we're kind of in more of the full swing of everything. And then we actually had only 328 crashes.
That's a 60% drop in traffic crashes in April compared to January and February. Overall, calls for service were the lowest in April as well compared to any other month in 2020.
There was nobody on the roads.
Luke Weaver commutes between Parker and Highlands Ranch. He never got work from home orders and has been on the road through all of the changes. Though there were fewer traffic crashes, one side effect was drivers speeding faster than before.
Something we also really experienced was a lot more speeding, a lot more cars going 100 plus miles an hour on the freeway.
I sped plenty during that time, but I never went that fast.
And Weaver believes people who got used to having the road to themselves during that time are not coping with the return to normal very well.
Once there's a little bit of traffic and it gets a little bit congested and it's a little inconvenient, people just go into Mad Max death race mode and they're just flying all over the place, getting around people, cutting you off. It's craziness.
Colorado Springs reports a steady increase in assaults after also dropping in the spring, though that is coupled with a slight decrease in domestic violence calls. CSPD says we'll know more about the data as time goes on and we get more context. Reporting live in Colorado Springs, Lauren Barnes, KRDO News Channel 13.